We are continuing our discussion of this after major issues, but we're back, and
now I'm here.
Yes. Do you know each other?
No.
No.
Do you want to have a quick introduction then? Just so.
I'm a weird person who puts videos on YouTube. Done.
I'm a bookseller.
Oh, I like your people. I like your people a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, we may as well just get on with it. Where were we? Yes. I'm just looking at my wonderful notes. We were just talking about the end of chapter with Sylvie and whether you thought it was Sylvie or not, and how long it took you to kind of figure that mystery out. And just would you say Lisa Heathfield sort of wrote the mystery well? Did you think she tackled it well?
I think she did, and she loved the way it ended. Lisa's so sweet about it. It's every time you compliment her, she was so just, she's a sweetheart. But I think she did really make up the mystery. I was oblivious. I'll admit that. Reading the entire book, I was oblivious to who her mother was. I was like, maybe it's this person, maybe it's this person. Wasn't overly fussed because I was more focused on Ellis. But then it hit me sort of bricks wait, it's her. Real confusion.
I was the same. I didn't think it was Sylvie because we didn't know who she was, so I wasn't sure it was. I didn't think it was Elizabeth because I thought that seemed a bit too you wanted it to be Elizabeth, and often in stories they sort of don't have it as who you want it to be. You sort of really, really wanted it to be Elizabeth, and I was really sad that it wasn't. But then the fact that it was Elizabeth's sister, I thought that was quite nice.
Mm. Yeah, it was quite a sort of a shock to realise that they were the brother. I always say brother and sister. I mean sister and sister.
I came quite late into the conversation, so I don't know what you guys spoke about. But have y'all spoke about the whole construct of taking babies the minute they're born? Because that creeps me out.
No, we haven't, and that wasn't a question of mine, so I'm glad you brought that up.
In such a small cult, though, how would it work? Because, someone's pregnant, someone leaves, a baby appears. It's kind of obvious where that baby came from.
Mm.
Well, I was a bit worried about the whole, because I wasn't sure who was related, because I'm guessing that they're all Papa S's babies. But I wasn't sure, and then I was like, well, is Jack related to Kate and to Pearl? Because you sort of got the impression that Jack and Kate were sort of a bit flirty, perhaps there was something going on there, but then were they related? I was sort of...
It's been a while since I read it, but I remember speaking to Lisa Heathfield about this, and she clarified that some of them were Papa S's and some of them were his right-hand man. What was he called?
Oh, the Kindreds.
Yeah, the Kindred. There was a mix of fathers there. So quite a few are related, but there is a mix of fathers between them.
Mm.
So some are related, but one or two flirty relationships can be forgiven because we know that is a difference in fathers.
Okay.
So it's basically it's the old creepy men taking advantage of all the brainwashed women.
Yeah, it was a bit... it felt quite similar to Only Ever Yours, but also, as Only Ever Yours is quite similar to The Handmaid's Tale, I thought that the three of those all had very similar themes and similar, that whole sort of a man choosing, or an authority figure choosing who's going to get pregnant and what's going to happen with the child, and that's sort of inviting her into his room, and felt so privileged to have been invited in, and she was really looking forward to the day that she was going to be his what was it called?
Companion.
Companion. His companion. The whole thing was just, and there's that part where Ellis is like, on the outside this is illegal, and she's like, what? No.
But surely, how did you guys feel reading that? Because I know when I was reading about a 15-year-old girl wanting to be the companion of this old creepy man, I was freaking out. I was internally I was like, you just threw her into a dirt hole Now you're going to pimp her out to a man who, I don't know how you guys picture him, but I picture him kind of looking like Herschel from The Walking Dead.
Oh, I don't watch The Walking Dead, but I imagined him as Hugh Hefner.
I picture him, I don't know because I don't remember the description, but I've always pictured him as like white hair, white beard, old man. I've got now. Oh, Hugh Hefner. Oh, now that's registered. For some reason, I thought you meant one of those celebrities like Hugh Laurie or someone. But no, Hugh Hefner and Hugh Laurie are two different people. Hugh Laurie's kind of cute. Hugh Hefner is a creepy old man.
When I was reading it, I felt uncomfortable because I just knew it was wrong because they just said he is. Just the whole aspect of having someone in charge saying, "Yeah, your turn. Come on, off with me now," and that made me wrong. But I didn't think too much about like the ages until she mentioned the description of. I think Pearl herself was sort of having doubts about it, and she had a description of him saying how about his like grey hair and all his like old beard, and he just looked really old and wrinkles around his eyes, and because she was doubting it, and it had a much more negative sort of description of him, and I suddenly kind of registered, yeah, this is much worse than I even thought it was, and it just was horrible, really not nice.
It says from chapter 1 in this book, Lisa Heathfield has an immense talent to just immediately start a book, make you feel slightly traumatized. I mean, I'm not far into this yet, Paper Butterflies, but seriously, I am what? Let's have a look. 40 pages in, and already I like put the book down a few times and went, really? So I think that's a genuine talent, and it says a lot for Lisa as a writer that she can pretty much traumatize you pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, this is supposedly a romantic thriller, although I do say it's more of a thriller than it is romantic. But on the romantic aspect, what did you think of how she sort of portrayed it and developed it with Pearl and Ellis and the like relationships between all the members of Seed? Like, did you enjoy that? Did you think it was good?
I was a huge fan of it. I was a huge fan of how the romance wasn't centre point, because most YA books nowadays, romance has to be front and centre. But I'm not agreeing with Ellis's reactions, because anybody from a normal world coming into this cult would have said a few more times, hold up, this is bloody wrong, what's going on?
Yeah.
And the fact that I understand that his mother didn't do it because she was brainwashed, but he was not brainwashed when he went into Seed. He should have had more doubts about what was going on. So that makes it a lot less believable for me, which in turn tinted the romance a wee bit.
I liked the sort of relationship between Ellis and Pearl, and I also liked how it wasn't just the two of them. There was clearly the four of the sort of, I don't want to say children, but the sort of 4 15-year-olds who are all same age, same sort of situation, because at the beginning Kate is already a woman, and then Pearl's like, oh, like, we can be the same now, and they all got on together. I liked that. It was like a friendship group. It didn't feel like Ellis comes in and suddenly Pearl's like, oh, he's my one, I've got to do everything with him. She was quite wary of him, and I thought that was nice, because it didn't immediately just become, oh, it's a love story and we're going to see this through. Sort of
realistic, like true love doesn't happen in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and he also sort of, you felt like Kate was flirting with him, and it wasn't like, you know, exclusively him and Pearl. It just felt quite natural, and I liked that more.
Oh, the book, it just freaks me out at times. Seriously, I think out of all of it that's creeping me out, I still think the worst first part of the book where they shove her in the dirt hole.
Oh, yeah.
That was... But also raises a lot of questions about how she was raised at sea, because was she properly looked after growing up? Because usually you gain your period at a later age, at an earlier age than that.
Yeah, no, you mentioned that's...
She's 15, because like I was a stupidly late one at 13. I was the last one of all my class at 13 years old. So
yeah.
15 is a very old age to So I don't know if that raises questions about her upbringing.
Yeah, but I think as well for the story, it felt quite like 15 is sort of as old as you can get away with without, thinking, oh, is there something wrong? Because I think had she been younger, I really would have been more uncomfortable with the story. Because, 15, you're almost 16, at which point, you're allowed to sleep with whoever you want to in the UK. But so it's sort of, I don't know, it almost made it a bit better, the fact that she was older.
But maybe that could have been solved by a time lapse, like cut to when she's 12 or 13 and she goes through that, so that's still at the start of the book. Then maybe skip forward a year or two to when it's time for the events of C to take place.
Well, if it is like saying a lot about her childhood, then that's an incredibly subtle sort of thing that makes you think, which says a lot about like just the writing and the book in general. So that's quite good.
Give us questions.
I'm just looking at my notebook because it's all my books. This one's covering my notebook and it's very stressful. With the relationship between Ellis and Pearl and Kate and Jack, it was like very much a mixture of family but also kind of romantic. But do you think the other sort of relationships between Pearl and like Elizabeth and Heather and the Kindreds, how did you think that was portrayed? Because they are meant to be a family, but there was so much sort of issues that it's quite interesting, I thought.
I didn't see Heather. Oh, sorry.
I'm shutting up. You go first. I'm shutting up.
I just didn't really care about Heather. At the beginning, she's the companion, and then she's just there. I didn't. Whereas with Elizabeth, I did really like her character, and I felt for her in the fact that she was pregnant. Pearl obviously loved her and kept talking about the baby as like our baby, and it's going to be a family member. And but I didn't really care about any of the other women, or Linda. Is that her name, Linda? When she came in with Ellis, I didn't care about them.
Harsh as it sounds, when it comes to these women, my opinion was you are putting children in a position of danger, essentially being in this cult. Linda, you just brought your 2 children into a cult.
Yeah.
I have no sympathy or no emotions for them. I mean, I have sympathy and emotions for the children who have been put in this situation. Parents, you're just idiots. And the Kindred and Barbaress, they're just weirdos who need to go away.
Yeah, I agree. So, going on to the plot now. What did you think of the overall plot, and especially the twists and like how they were sort of added into the story?
Loved it. I devoured that book in like 2 hours. And actually, shall I tell you how I came to read this book? I don't read contemporary. It's very well known on my channel that I only read kind of paranormal kind of stuff or urban fantasy. And I go to a annual blogging thing, UKYA Midlands. Basically, it's a load of bloggers getting together, getting tipsy, and I go along as a booktuber. And Michelle from Tales of Yesterday, you've probably heard of her, because she is like the queen of Twitter now. We were doing shots, and she just said, "You've got to read Seed. You've got to read Seed." So we made a drunken agreement that within the week I would read Seed, she would read my favourite book. She still hasn't read my favourite book, but I read Seed.
Oh, that's so cute. I really want to go to one of those.
Seriously do. They are amazing. I highly recommend it. You are both 18, yeah?
I'm not, but I'm, I can have a non-alcoholic. I'll be fine.
Yeah, there's ones that we can only have 18s and overs on because they usually are like bars and stuff that we are drinking. But Michelle has done really well to organise specific ones that are for non-drinkers of under. So there's like, we go to like a restaurant or something like that where it's fun. Picnic one in you'll see on my channel I've got loads of vlogs of them, but I haven't uploaded this one. We had a picnic in Stratford upon Avon. I bought tons of cookies and a pug. We all sat at a table, like Helen Maslin, the author, was there, as was Janet Edwards, who wrote Earth Girl, and they'd brought Helen Maslin had brought her kids, 2 young boys. They were just playing with the pug, as well as Michelle's son. There was just kids, there was food, there was adults. It was just great. So if you can come to one of these events, come to one of these events. They are amazing. There should be one coming up soon, actually. I keep pestering Michelle, like, I need to get my drink on. They're the only real friends I have. All my other friends are internet friends. This is one of those rare times you get to interact with human beings. If you like me.
So yeah, Jasmine, what was your sort of... Where am I?
Overall opinions on plot.
Yeah, that's the one.
I really enjoyed it. I didn't feel bored at any point. Sometimes there's a bit in books where it's like, oh, okay, I've just got to get through this to get further on. But because it was a lot of it was quite frantic, because as Pearl sort of realised more about Seed and about the outside, and sort of Ellis had been talking to her and frightening her because he was saying they're lying to you and this whole thing's based on fear, and so because she was frantic, the plot moved on quite quickly, and I liked that.
I'm just going to add some. My only issue with like the twists was that there wasn't that much sort of build up to them, and I think this is more personal preference because I'm reading so much crime. I read a lot of crime genre. When something bad is about to happen, like what tends to happen is there'll be like a lead up to it, and you'll start to be like, oh, something's going to happen in a minute. You can tell by the pace or the language or just general foreshadowing. Whereas I think in this one it was a lot more sort of random, like an absolute twist, because it was just sort of, it just came out of nowhere when you didn't expect it.
That's why I like Seed, because it's so different, because it's not what you usually expect.
Yeah, I was going to say I think that's a good thing and a bad. Like, personally, because I read crime, I was like, well, that just came out of nowhere. That was...
I want my build-up.
Yeah, but then looking back, it's like, well, I didn't expect it. And so that's also very good, because otherwise I would have been like, well, I know what's about to happen, and then it happens, and it's like, well, I did say... And it wouldn't have been as much of a shock.
I think it, you feel, because it's from Pearl's point of view, she doesn't know anything's going to happen, and so when it happens, you get her reaction. She's really upset. She's really frightened. She doesn't really understand what's happening, and then you sort of go on from there. Like with Elizabeth, she didn't know, and it was quite obvious what was going to happen to the reader, because we knew that something was wrong, but they were just saying it's nature and she'll be fine, and we'll look after her, and so we sort of, we sort of knew what was going to happen, but Pearl didn't, and I quite liked that.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually.
Very random note on this. Do you guys know what the original title was?
No.
The original title was going to be Lotus, because do you know Papa S has the lotus flowers carved on his door handle, I believe it is. The original cult was going to be called Lotus. Just thought I'd throw in that random fact.
I only have 3 questions left, which is, and one I already know the answer to, probably, I think. But I'll leave it. A bit of suspense. So, were you satisfied with the amount of information given? Because there are things that we've sort of presumed are the case and aren't definite, and we haven't. Like, nothing is sort of specifically told, such as Pearl's mother. You're not, well, no, you are told about Pearl's mother, but you're not told about who it was in the bonfire. You can guess, and it's probably, you're right, but you're not told. And it's the same with, like, the Ellis's hand and other things, which I can't remember. But were you satisfied with what you were given?
Yes and no.
You go first.
Okay. Ali needs to go like, Lisa or Jasmine, one of us. You need one of us to talk first. You're asking questions. But for me, it's a real double-edged sword, this one, because I like the fact that I'm still thinking of these things, like months later. I haven't read this book in the past, nearly a year probably it's been since I read this book. And I still think of some of those little things now. Like, I wonder if that really did go that way. So that, in a way, it's really good because I can really keep thinking about the book. On the other hand, it drives me absolutely nuts. So I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I'm just going insane. I'm just genuinely going insane. Seed just made me insane for a while, and Paper Butterflies is probably going to do the same.
Yeah. I liked it. I liked because I love books that are from first-person narrative where they don't know what's happening. And so, because Pearl didn't know any of these answers, and I liked that we had to sort of just guess because we were taking on her reactions and her assumptions. And so, if we knew, I think it wouldn't have the same effect. You wouldn't, if we knew definitively what happened to Alice's hand, we wouldn't have that same sort of what did happen. Maybe what was that man called? Kindred Smith, was it, or the other one? Maybe he pushed him, or maybe he chopped it off, or maybe we don't know. Maybe he did cover it up, or maybe it's very obvious at the time what happened, and Jack was also hiding it. We just don't know, and I liked that because you sort of get that sort of fear that Pearl has because you just don't know about any of the characters. You're not 100% sure.
Yeah. Do you think, this is the one I'm going to presume you're both enthusiastic, but do you think you're going to read the next book?
Yeah.
I already got the next book of the author on me.
I hadn't realised that there was a sequel until I got to the end and it said look out for the sequel, and I was like, and it said spring 2016. I was like, what?
I have to bring a point. This is very, very amusing. Due to the ending, Lisa said this to me at Yalk. I was talking to her about it. I was like, how could you do that ending? And she's like, if I knew my publisher wanted a second book, I probably wouldn't have done that ending. As she wrote the first book, she was writing it as a singular entity, and then they decided we'd quite like a book 2.
Yeah.
So it does raise into a lot of questions of what book 2 will be, even though I've got a pretty good idea. It's very amusing because it was just her way of going, I probably wouldn't have done that ending. Because a big chunk of what book 2 would have been is gone and can't happen now. But do you like that it's continuing?
Yeah. When's the publication date for the second one?
I don't know, because what essentially happened here is Lisa was starting on book 2, and this character, it is June. The way she described it is June just kind of popped onto the page and went, I've got a story here, write me now. So Paper Butterflies came into effect. But I think she is working on Paper Butterflies. Oh, no, she's working on Seed 2 after Paper Butterflies. So we shouldn't really expect it until the end of the year or early next year, probably. Unless she already wrote it before Paper Butterflies came into effect. I don't remember. It's been a while since I spoke to her.
Paper Butterflies isn't to do with Seed?
No, Paper Butterflies is... I'll just read the back of it for you. June's life at home with her stepmother and stepsister is a dark one. This is dark, by the way, like creepily dark. And a secret one. Not even her dad knows the truth. She's trapped like a butterfly in a net. And it's essentially a child abuse story up to that point. But then June meets Blister. In him she finds a glimmer of hope that perhaps she can find a way to fly far, far away. Because every creature in this world deserves their freedom. But at what price? Oh, Jasmine went!
Oh, she's gone!
She may have lost internet connection. Short turn. And is she joining us
back?
Is she back? But this, yeah, I've only got about 40, 50 pages in, but it's a completely new set of characters, but it's just as dark as Lisa Heathfield wrote Seed, if not more so. So if you like Seed and you like the way it went, you will like Paper Butterflies. But Paper Butterflies, it has no relation to Seed, from what I can tell.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I do believe Seed 2 is still happening. I'm seeing Lisa next week. I'm interviewing her for a few things. So I will actually go to her and just go, when's Paper Butterflies? No, not. I'm confusing books. When's Seed 2 happening? So where do you sell books, Jasmine?
Pardon?
Where do you sell books?
Oh, an independent bookshop in Much Wenlock, which is in Shropshire.
I can't say that word. I'm going to hunt you down at some point now. Now you told me where you are, I'm going to find you. Oh, wow, I'm creepy. See, this is why I probably don't have real-life friends. But, yeah, you've got my dream job. They just give ARCs to booksellers as well. I mean, I've got friends who are booksellers, and they just, like, show me their piles of ARCs, and I'm like...
Yeah, mine fell over yesterday, and they're just still on my floor. I haven't moved them. It was really high, and then I moved the chair that they were balanced on, and because some of them are like plastic ring bound, they don't all lie flat, so it was a bit uneven and it fell. So I've got to clear that up after this.
I am well versed in book avalanches. I'm not at my home. I'm at my partner's home at the minute, in his office, but I have a wall of books at home. And books have become a building blocks for me. Like when my bed frame broke, I literally held my bed up on books. At the minute, my curtain pole's broke, so I literally have a pile of books holding up the curtain pole. They just do everything. But at 1 a.m, you'll just hear a crash, and a load of books will have fallen off a shelf, the curtain pole, and all those books would have fallen down. It's terrifying. You're just dozing, you're just falling off to sleep. This happened last night. One of my outward-facing books just went. I was literally at that stage where you'd just fallen to sleep, and then bang, because I have hardwood floors, so it made the loudest noise. I just remember sitting up like. It's terrifying. There's dangers to having big packed sacks of books. Wow, I'm going on a tangent. You guys need to shut me up when I start this.
To be honest, I think we've kind of covered everything because I was just going to mention finally about the ending and like how you responded to it because it was so fast-paced and just like very, very shocking to say the least. So, what did you guys how did you respond to that? Okay, you could go first, Lisa. There you go.
This is my simple reaction. There's not many words to describe it. I actually remember launching my book across the room. And the first thing I said, I distinctly remember this, and I met with Lisa, I was like, why? 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 Because that was really unexpected. Because I've got so used to the conventions of YA that I kind of think in my head, like, nah, she'd never do that. Because no one's going to do that, because most publishers and most book authors are so obsessed with getting a sequel that they wouldn't do that. I mean, are we doing spoilers here?
Yeah, it's because it's chat about the book. It's because it's the book club.
Okay,
spoilers.
Let's go full in spoilers then. So, pretty much no YA author will kill off the main love interest because essentially they want book 2. And book 2 would be about their romance further because romance is usually the selling point in YA. So I was going through the entire book like, yeah, Harry and Ellis are going to get out. Yeah, they're going to be fine. Yeah, Everett, what? Huh? Seriously threw me such a loop. I expected like any other supporting character to die. Anyone else other than Pearl and Ellis. Ellis could get maimed, of course, or Pearl. But ultimately I knew they'd both come out alive. I knew it. So, yeah.
I liked it, because then what the follow-on is that you've got 3 people from Seed who are now outside.
That's going to be so interesting.
Because with Ellis, he just puts them in a taxi and takes them somewhere safe. Now you've got these people who have no idea what to do because they've never been outside by themselves. Like even when Pearl ran out to get some help for when Elizabeth was not in labour, but she was sort of towards the end of her pregnancy, which was very poorly, and you know that was really difficult for her. And so this sort of idea that now the cult is completely over because Papes shot himself after killing everyone else.
I loved that he did that. Ding dong, asshole's dead.
I just think now we're left with this like completely broken society. They've got this house and this farm and this car, and they don't know what to do with any of it, and they want to get away, but because they've got a child with them, haven't they? They've got Sophie. Is it Kate, Sophie, and did Jack come out? I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't know whoever came out because it may totally change with the start of book 2. They may go back to Seed temporarily, regroup, and then leave.
Well, all the others are dead, aren't they?
Pretty much everyone dies. It's Game of Thrones kind of deal.
It says it's Kate, Jack, and Sophie, so it's the 4 of them.
Oh, the 4 of them. Okay, yeah, I forgot about Jack because he went off to find Ellis, but he didn't go for very long because they were in that ditch.
I hope they don't stay at Seed. I want to see him try and branch into the real world. I want to see him through that.
It sounds like it, because right at the very end, like the last sentence is like about them being outside, isn't it? It's like us and the outside.
But will they retreat back into Seed and what they know? That's the question, because most people in that situation will retreat to what they know.
I get there's loads of dead people at Seed now.
I think they'd be too scared.
Shootout attracted some police. And surely the police will have came and seen, like, you know, a cacophony of bodies, decided we should probably, like, bury them, and, oh, wait, there's still some kids about.
Actually, the social people were coming back the next day.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine? Everyone's ran, and there's just a load of dead bodies. The social workers get there, and they're like,
what? We only came back to see if they had school books.
We didn't expect dead bodies.
That would be a fantastic way to start the next book, from like, their point of view, walking in and just going, what is this? Yes. That was everything.
It was traumatizing. No, I'm really excited to read about the second book. I want to see how it continues. And actually, the cover for Paper Butterflies looks very similar to Seeds.
Ooh.
Is it? Oh, yeah. Got a face.
Yeah, me and Jasmine, before everyone joined, were just sort of discussing the cover and how sort of awesome it is.
Have you seen the original American art cover?
I have. I actually quite like it.
Yeah, I've got a signed edition of the original American art from Lisa, and
Wait,
I love it.
What's it look like?
It's basically a field, a tree, a house, and a girl farming.
Oh, yes, I saw that earlier. Yeah, I have seen it.
Yeah, but I do prefer the UK covers.
I do too. It's more YA as the UK one. Whereas the other one.
I feel like the American one kind of plays on the romance aspect as well. I feel like that cover is more of a, you know, country romance kind of, that's what you'd expect. Whereas this one's more thriller cover.
Did you think it was going back to the actual story, did you think it was a bit, did it feel to you like critical of religion? Because for the first few chapters, all I could think of was like, surely she's had some dreadful religious experience, because it just felt so, like everything about it just felt like it was just one step away from a religious sort of criticism.
I don't know what my original thing is, because I've spoke to Lisa about this, so now I know what she said about it, so I don't know what my original aspect was anymore. But she really went into it with nothing, from what I can tell.
Really?
She went into it with no hate for religion. We ended up speaking a lot about religion in the first interview, which I'll have to find the old footage from, because I never released that interview, but I've got footage of it. And I remember we did go on a big tangent about religion. She didn't even do research into cults, really.
Yeah.
This is just what came to her. And it just, this whole world was just created. It was there. And I don't think it was, as someone, I like the weird and the creepy. I have researched cults. I'm one of those people. And I think every cult and what makes up a cult is it tries to be a religion, but it's not. It tries to justify things. It's extremist. It's extremism. Like, ISIS is not Islam. It's not their religion. It's an extreme section of it. A cult is like attempting to be an extreme section of their own religion, if that almost makes sense. Just severe extremism. It's like the West Baptist Bro Church, whatever it's called. Those idiots.
Yeah. It was very convincing. It felt like she must have had a lot of hatred to have written it. But if she hadn't, then that's just brilliant writing in that it feels like, you know, it felt so intense and so real that you thought, this surely cannot be all made up. This is just her sort of changing names.
she's one of the nicest, sweetest people you'll ever meet as well. And it's so weird because she's like the most lovely woman. And I remember I spent the entire day with her. I'm doing so again next week. And she's such a lovely person. Every time I message her, she's so lovely. And you just have to take a step back and think, she's wrote these effed up books. And she's like absolutely adorable. She's kind of like, she's so sweet and lovely that she was the kind of person that you'd think would write more fluffy stuff. But when we were talking in the original interviews, we were talking a lot about The Collector by John Fowler. Has any of you guys read that?
I've not heard of it, to be honest.
It's a very old book, and basically it's about a guy who kidnaps a girl, locks her in his basement, she eventually gets ill and dies. And we're talking about our fascination with that book, because it's a really old, creepy book. And I think she, like me, has a bit of fascination with that kind of thing, what would drive someone to do that. And I think it's so strange because she's so lovely and so sweet, and then you realise she wrote Seed. She wrote Paper Butterflies. And it's I think it just speaks to her talent as a writer, really. That she can create these and still be like the nicest person I've ever met, the nicest author I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
But I think that does it, to be honest. I think we've gone through everything. Well, I've gone through all my questions. Yeah. It was always this bit, which is always the worst, because I'm always just like, what do I say?
This is the point where we like gossip for 5 minutes, and then we say we probably should go do human adult things, but usually it's too fun. I mean, I love doing live